I think it's a strength for all of us as a performer, like in the background, the skill set and knowledge and experience we have, it trumps a 4-year college degree and an internship and climbing a corporate ladder. Like, we think of things different. We're good on our feet. I mean, we're on stage and things are happening and we're having to stay live and handle it and go, okay, that's there. That lift didn't move. So safety. And then, okay, they left. So let's reblock. And it's the way we think is so valuable in any line of work.
Welcome to Recast and Rise, the podcast for performers and creatives ready to explore what's next. You'll hear inspiring stories of artists who reinvented themselves and found new careers after the stage. Let's recast and rise. Hello, Gelsey.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for being here. We're going to talk about career change today. You were a performer, and now you are still transitioning, correct?
Still figuring it out. I think it's something as performers we don't talk about enough. We talk about where we are after, but I think the transition period itself is something that should be more focused on and talked about.
So tell us, of course, I want to hear all about it. But start with the fun part. What were you doing as a performer? Yeah. I mean, not that career change is not fun. Okay, no, career change is amazing.
Not. It's honestly, right now, it's not. I hate applying to like real jobs. And I'm like, what is this? But basically, I've done everything and anything under the sun of live entertainment, but kind of in a nutshell, I started as a dancer my whole life as a kid, grew up as a bunhead in a ballet school. And I started my professional career at 16 at Disneyland, dancing in parades, quickly moved to New York to go live out my Broadway dream, trained, hopped on cruise ships for a couple years, came back, did a national tour with a Broadway show, decided I want to join the circus. I had already been training aerial arts, but moved to Vegas and just completely focused on my aerial training, day in and day out, hours on end, and ended up doing a lot of gig work. I went to Montreal, Germany, doing that with different shows, and then landed my ultimate dream role at the Beatles' Love with Cirque du Soleil, which is why I know you as the strap soloist for 3 years. Literally a dream come true. But then I'm someone that always once I'm complacent, I'm like, what's next? What's next? What's next? So even at Cirque, I couldn't believe I got to somewhat of a complacency mark. And I was like, okay, I want to reach more. So I left to go to Hollywood to be a stunt woman. Unfortunately, COVID hit. Trained a bunch during COVID when everything opened up. Had my first big project with Disney, and I got hit in the head a couple times and suffered a brain injury. Ended that part of my career. And I've been kind of in this stumble transition phase, honestly, ever since. I went back to Disney and did some special events and was hosting a show. So I was on stage with a microphone with like Goofy behind me leading a crowd for an hour at a time. Honestly, one of the hardest jobs I ever did. Like, my Apple Watch would be like, you burned 1,300 calories tonight. It was just nonstop jumping like, is everybody ready? And it was a lot of fun, but I burnt out there too. It was kind of like, okay, what's the ultimate goal here? I didn't really want to mess with Hollywood after I left stunts. It's just kind of a whole different beast that I was like, do I really want to, I got tired of hustling the way we do as entertainers and having to prove myself. So it slowly kind of trickled out. I had one last hurrah last year dancing. I was like, I'm going back to my roots. I did a couple burlesque shows and then I just realized, I was backstage one day when we had like 3 shows and I was like, I'm so tired and I'm tired of pushing past this point of exhaustion to go entertain the people. And that hit me that I was like, I think I'm really done. I think I'm ready. And ready for what though? So that's kind of where I'm at. But I'm very grateful for my performing career. I wouldn't have changed a thing. I did everything I wanted to. That's why I think sometimes it's hard to let go of it, but it's time. It's time.
And you did a lot of different things. I mean, truly, you've done it all.
Yeah.
The big production, stunt, at Disney, the cruise ships. Mm-hmm. Which one did you prefer? Which one brought you joy the most?
Honestly, Cirque, being a Beatles Love, brought me a certain joy because literally when I was 15 years old, I saw that show, and that's why I started training to be an aerialist, was because of the Beatles show. Like, I was 15, I saw it, and I was like, my life's changed. So Sweet 16, my mom's like, what do you want? I was like, go back to see Love. Went back to see Love. And 17, I started training in Anaheim, or in LA, actually. I was working at Disney at the time. And that was kind of always like when I was having a bad day, when I couldn't get myself to like get motivated, I would put on the soundtrack. Like I loved the Beatles. I would put on Love and like run on the treadmill. And it was this like manifesting journey that 10 years after I saw it, I was signing my contract at 25. So it means a lot to me. That show means a lot to me. It changed my life. It changed everything. So that for that reason. But if I could go back and just perform one more time a show without having to rehearse it, just I know it, it would be, I did Rock of Ages on national tour, the Broadway show. And that was probably the most fun I've ever had.
Because it was on tour or just the show itself?
No, I hated the tour. The tour was awful. We were doing a national tour and we were doing one-nighters basically. So I was on a tour bus anywhere from 3 to, I think our longest day was 13 hours a day, but we would average about 6 hours a day, load off, go to the new theater, settle in, block what we needed, do a show that night, go sleep, and then 5 a.m, be back on the bus touring. And it was winter and it was exhausting. So that I hated. That was awful. The show itself was so much fun. I mean, it was rock and roll. I got to sing. I had a lot of parts, a lot of lines. I got to dance like the most I've probably danced in a show. So it just kind of had every element of everything I love. And it was all 80s rock. Like it's Whitesnake, Journey. Like it was just, I was like, this is it. Yeah.
I agree. The music is so good.
So good. I know. I miss, I think that, but they all have like, there's a part of cruise ships I miss too, because we have such a variety. You couldn't pay me $1 million to work on a cruise ship again. Like I was 19, great, glad I did it, but it has its cons. But the shows were such a variety where I got to can, tango, tap dance, Irish dance, Bollywood, like, you just get to do everything. So that was fun too. So I honestly cherish like every single job I've done.
And now you mentioned that, okay, you made a decision to transition. Yeah. And then you felt, okay, you know what? I'm exhausted. It's time. You were not prepared, correct? Is that what?
I was not prepared at all. It's when I had my head injury in 2021. I was opening a live stunt show at Disney. My trajectory, my plan was to be a full throttle Hollywood stunt woman. And honestly, things were lining up. Like people that were getting my content, sharing it on Instagram, emailing back and forth were, they were stunt coordinators for Marvel projects and huge Hollywood blockbusters. So, there's a sense of part of me that just has to accept. I know I would have crushed it and let that be enough. But with the head injury, I got kicked in the head really bad, and then within 2 weeks got hit again with a weapon, and that compound is not good. And that racked me up to 5 concussions in my life, and that is not good. So basically my neurologist was like, you're done. That was a really hard pill to swallow. That the depression I went through, I mean, that's a head injury comes with depression, and those are side effects. But the depression of having to let go of this thing that I really never even got to fully do was hard. And I think realizing, okay, what now? So I wasn't prepared for that. I still stayed in entertainment with Disney and these side projects and whatnot, but it still felt, I'm just doing this while this other thing happens. And I'm like, but what is this other thing? It's kind of, it was weird. It's either like try to get my dance career going and go on tour with a pop star, which I'd never done, but I was done tour. I've toured. I'm exhausted. Like everything was just kind of like, I'm 34 now, and this happened. I think I was 30. Yeah, 30 when I got hit. And so it's been these 4 years where it's just, I could push through, but like my body's just getting more tired. I don't have the gusto I had that, I would go every day, hours on end, like 8 hours a day training when I was 23, 24. And it's true I slowed down, but I just kind of was trying to figure out this thing and being the biggest part of the transition, I think, and I'm still learning this, is detaching my self-worth and detaching what I think I deserve in life because of this other thing I did. You know, it's really just comes down to self-worth. As performers, we attach our self-worth with, look what I can do, look what my body can do, look what my body looks like, look how thin I am, look how flexible I am. And releasing that, you know, I tried to change it into modeling and social media. I was like, oh, I want to be an influencer and this, that, but it wasn't letting me fully let go. And I feel like we're told a lot, especially I remember when I was just dancing, and not just, but dancing and not really full aerialist yet. But people, and I'm sure you felt the same, people always go, oh, what's your plan B? What are you going to do after? Because they know, oh, you know, it's like a professional athlete. Your career span is only so long. And I know there's plenty of artists well into their 40s and 50s and professional dancers that keep going. And they're able to, but there's a sacrifice there, and there's a lifestyle sacrifice. There's everything has to revolve around your body, your schedule, your eating, because you got to keep the machine well oiled. And it's just not, I don't know, addressed enough. Like when people, what's your plan B? I was like, piss off. Like, how dare you say I'm not going to make it? There is only one plan, and it's plan A because it's going to work. And I respect myself for having that mentality. I respect for performers having it because we have to. It's a tough industry, and you have to have the nothing standing in my way. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to do what it takes. But I think in being young and being kind of invincible, it's not even about, hey, you do kind of have to have a bit of a retirement plan. It's like, if we get injured,
yes,
that career's done. And then what? And as much as I think I rejected it, I think I wish there was a different way that people could have approached me with it, so I could have been a little more prepared, I guess.
Yeah. And it's not a matter of let's find your next career today for tomorrow. It's to plant the seed, what I'm good at, what do I want to do? Mm-hmm. What are the things that I like now that I could apply on other things? Yes, it's good to start thinking about it while you're performing, so when or if something happens, mm-hmm. you have that, the transition is smoother.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wish I wouldn't have taken, not that, I mean, when I was at Love, when I was with Cirque, I was taking my daytime hours to go train for stunts because that was my next goal. And, you know, I was really beating my body up. Like now I look back and I'm like, why? Ow. Like I'm still in so much pain. I don't do it. And I'm just like, gosh, like it's wild. But I wish I would have kind of taken, like, I'm doing this physical job, I am performing, maybe find some more not so physical, even hobbies to start tuning some skills there that I could then maybe later transfer. Or, you know, I see a lot of people with performing and they're getting a degree on the side. I didn't do that. And I don't have any regrets, but now I'm starting to look at online programs to at least get an associate's. And I'm like, okay, it's, you know, that's the world.
If I may say, you were prepared. It's just that you were preparing yourself to become a stunt woman, which, mm-hmm. to your point, that was not necessarily.
That's okay.
You prepared yourself. It's just
for another like kill your body. It's like a joke. I like looked at my career as a dancer and I was like, wow, this is really tearing my body up. How can I one up that and tear my body down? I was like, aerialist, circus. I don't need shoulders. Let's do that. And then I was like, this isn't good enough. How do I even tear my body up more? And I'm like, getting hit by cars and slammed into walls and falling downstairs. There we go. And you know, I do believe everything happens for a reason though. And you know, I think part of me and I think part of humans is we tell ourselves that and we make that story fit because we want answers and justification.
Justification,
yes. I do. I want to be justified. Why didn't I get to do that? But in hindsight, I think, you know, I hit my head, went back to the show and immediately hit it again. To me, I was like, okay, the universe is like, bitch, sit down. Like, you're not supposed to do this. And I was fighting the signs and the signals. And I had a couple other injuries that funny enough, like I wasn't listening to, and it led to me pushing through. And then I got a head injury and I was like, how do I listen to the signals and signs? But I was being told to go in a different direction and pushed that way. And so I do think there's something to it. And I don't think I was supposed to do that. I think maybe this injury, it's terrible, I'm still dealing with it, but maybe it saved my life. Maybe I would have had a worse injury on a set of a film because people do lose, you know, their limbs and lives in that career. So hey.
Can you talk us through that journey here that led where you're at now?
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of it was the beginning of last year, around April. I was is when I've had that, come to like, I'm tired and I don't want to push through. Like I know I love the stage, but it's just at what cost. That wasn't the first moment of being pushed back and retired. It's kind of over the last 2 years ish, where 2 years ago I reopened my head injury case, my workers' comp case, because I didn't get proper treatment and settlement and all of that. Disney. But yeah, also just side note, so we won't go on a tangent, but as performers, protect yourselves. We are taught to say yes and push through injuries. Be like, no, it's fine. I'll be fine. I don't need, get a lawyer. If you're injured, you're not a bad person. You're not, I think we're just trained to feel that way. It's protecting yourself. And in the long run, I kicked myself and luckily was able to reopen my case with legal support, and the healthcare I got was just so much better, and I was able to get more answers. And so I'll leave that there, but just get a lawyer. But I did open my case back up, and I ended up getting put on disability last year through that case, and which was great. I had at least some money coming in. And at that same time, even though I was trying to dance, I was like, okay, I can't, for legal reasons. I can't be on disability and then be in a dance class. If they see that, that's a problem. So I started my own YouTube channel, and I kind of was doing somewhat of what you're doing, but was trying to just open up the insights of my performing life. And, I loved it. I was at that time also staying in Arizona a lot. So this kind of goes at a parallel. I got into a relationship and still am 3 years ago, and it's great. It's going fantastic. Yeah, we're living together, have been for a while. But it was the first time in my life, like when we met, I was starting to be like, what am I doing? I ended up taking a sabbatical from entertainment and going and serving at a hotel and a restaurant. And because even then I was feeling it. So it was, again, this 3-year process, but I started prioritizing my relationship. I had weekends, holidays, date nights. Like, I was able to do this, go to his family's for Christmas. And, as a performer, you don't get any of that. And so I was like, oh, and I think 7 years I was single and didn't date. So it was like, because I couldn't really. And this was the first time I was able to have that and really prioritize. And so I kind of let that take the lead, and it was nice. And I was like, that made me realize I don't want to sacrifice my personal life anymore for this life and dream. And, I did it, and I did sacrifice that. So kind of going in parallel of that, going a year goes 2 years, and this relationship's like, okay, this is, who I'm going to be with forever. Trying to figure out how I make that work. And so I did go on YouTube a bit, and that was great, but I did hit this sense of burnout, just in a sense of I was putting in so much work. I was maybe spending too much time editing and getting into that, but it came back to like having to prove myself, hustle, find my audience, and it just kind of was the things that I was ready to be done with. Not that in the real world, and I'm trying to get a job now, and I'll get into that, it is a hustle, but it's not the same as an entrepreneurial, like, performance hustle. Yeah. And I was tired. And I think I don't think I'm done with YouTube. I'll never be done performing and having some kind of a platform, because I do love it and I love performing in any way possible. But I think I'm just ready to like redirect to get a secure thing. And then it's like I can slowly do it more as a hobby. And I think for me right now, looking at it as more of a hobby gives me that permission to, again, let go, detach, not need it or need the validation, which it's just such a process to let go of all that. And so I thought it was serving me, and I think right now it's just better to just take a breather with all of that.
For the artists, performers, creatives that are listening to you and consider starting either a social media platform or YouTube, with your experience, what would you recommend? What tips and tricks would you give them so they can decide if that's even something they want to pursue?
This is so corny and typical and cheesy, but first and foremost, just like be yourself. I got lucky. I don't have a huge following on Instagram, but I was almost to 70,000 at one point. Now I'm down to like 56,000 followers or 50. I've lost. It's crazy. It's a scary slope, because you don't want to attach your worth to the numbers there. It's easy to read and go, oh my God, I lost a follower. Oh my God, this didn't do as well. And you just kind of have to go into it even with a business strategy, I think going in with a strategy is really smart, but going in with a sense of playfulness and fun is great. But I went viral for my martial arts kicking videos. I was doing them in heels because I was bored and I thought this would be fun. It wasn't because I was trying to make a viral video or trying, like, those, you just kind of have to be genuine. And I think there's an element of like, yeah, copy people, go with the trends, that helps your numbers, but also don't be too carbon copy because there's already them out there. Like, that's why you would be unique as being yourself.
And followers don't equal money or salary or any of that.
Nope,
So,
I make $0. I've never, like, I've gotten some brand deals like Fabletics. If you follow me or do in the future, you'll see I constantly post Fabletics. They're my only consistent brand deal, and I think I've been with them for almost 3 years now. But I get paid in outfits, which I'm fine with. I was like, I'm wearing Fabletics right now, actually.
Yes.
I was a huge fan before, so I was starting to also post content with them and tag them, and then I found the contact to reach out to and go, hey, let me show you all these reels I've made. I'm been a huge fan of your company. I would love to collaborate. So that's kind of another thing, don't go in it for the free stuff. Don't go in it for the publicity. Like, I think we see all these influencers and we go, oh, what a glamorous life. It's kind of the celebrity thing. We're blinded by the stars and think, I want to do that so I can just do these free products and photo shoots, and it's not that. You have to go in for the right reasons. And for me, it was to entertain. It was to be silly and get it out. But my Instagram changed, I kind of got loopholed into this martial arts thing, and then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much, I only did it for stunts, and now I'm not doing that, and I let go. And then I got into sex sells a bit and boudoir photo shoots, which I do love doing, and that was something kind of on my healing path, not to be corny again, but in journey of loving myself is doing that, and it helped. But then it's a weird place. You start going which way the people want it, and it can cause you to put out things maybe you don't want. I never went on OnlyFans and stuff, and power to have whoever does, but I can't say that I didn't attract that crowd that wanted me to.
So you decided so you're still doing some of that?
Yes.
To a certain extent.
To a certain extent. I actually just went private. I have a private account that's for friends and family where I actually post my personal life. Like, I don't really post my relationship much on my main account. I don't, it's, the internet's a weird place. He's has a pretty decent following himself in the medical world, and we've seen the weirdness in people, and people found me through him, and he never posts me, and I've gotten angry DMs. Like, people are so mean, and so we're just like, let's just kind of keep this off of that. So I created a personal account, but I just went private with my big one for a while because I'm trying to get jobs in the corporate world. Yes. And my last couple posts, I'm in a bikini showgirl costume from a gig I did in Vegas, and I'm like, I get it, and we all get it, but the corporate world would be like, no. So, for the time being, and that's also something, it's said a lot, what you put out on the internet is forever, but I always was like, whatever, I'm going to, I did burlesque, I did all these things, and now I'm like, oh crap, hide. Yeah.
It's such a fine line, because it's also who you are.
It is, and that's
also,
the thing.
Yeah, maybe the thought of being hired by a company that actually will appreciate who you are with all the background that you have as a creative and a performer.
No, and it has gotten me into interviews because people, expect this more corporate background and this, that, and they go, yeah, we saw Cirque du Soleil, like, we don't get that in this world. And I'm like, and I totally play on it, and I think it's a strength for all of us as a performer, like, in the background, the skill set and knowledge and experience we have, it trumps a 4-year college degree and an internship and climbing a corporate ladder. Like, we think of things different. We're good on our feet. I mean, we're on stage and things are happening, and we're having to stay live and handle it and go, okay, that's there. That lift didn't move, so safety. And then, okay, they left, so let's reblock. And it's the way we think is so valuable in any line of work.
And where do you think you're going?
So I feel like I've had so many different ideas, and I've been in a couple of years of throwing spaghetti on the wall, and I'll say I'm trying one thing, and then I kind of go, well, I don't know. And so, I kind of take everything with a grain of salt. But right now I'm leaning towards hospitality. And I think my long-term goal is to get into events and event planning. I just think it works. I think it matches the entertainment. It matches that creative but still structure, and five-star hospitality seemed to be in my mind. I was like, oh, well, that would be a good way to kind of get experience, climb a ladder, and it be there. And then later on, if I want to start my own company or join a private boutique company, I can. But I do have a third interview next week for one of the resorts here. And I'm just applying. I'm applying to jobs I'm not qualified for. Like I applied for a events manager position at Ritz-Carlton. I got a letter that was like, no, thank you. But I was like, I'm just trying to get my name and resume through the door, because they might see it and go, you know what, you're good for something else we have. And yeah, I figured if I could be in the circus, I could. I'm nervous when I go into these interviews, and I laugh sometimes because I'm like, my quote unquote interview for Cirque was like, okay, climb this rope with no legs. All right, do the splits. Now do 10 pull-ups into 10 push-ups into 10. And I'm like, why am I nervous?
Yes. Well, also all those interviews that you did with the Ritz-Carlton and all other ones, those are trainings. You get better as you go more and more and more, and you refine what you should say, answer the questions, and that's also a big part of why you would get the job. Unfortunately, like job interviews are part of the process in the corporate world. Yeah.
I actually, once I'm sitting with the person, I love job interviews. It's more like the parking and getting in the back door of hotels like stresses me out. I actually worked at a 5-star hotel 2 summers ago. When I took a break from performing, I was like, I'm gonna go wait in the pool for the summer season. Like a pool server was opening up, and it's one of the nicest hotels here, like it's in Newport Beach. But I served, and it was the parking and getting there was the more stressful part to me than actually sitting, because I trust myself. I'm such a people person, and such a we're performers, and so I'm like, get me in front of the person and I will get them to like me. Even if I don't get the job, they will remember me and it will come back around. And so far it has. I kind of like interviews. I don't know, they're fun.
Yes.
I don't know. There's something I just don't like when they ask certain questions and I'm like, I'm not qualified. Like I'm good at BSing, I guess. It's a little bit of like milking it. I'm pretty certain. I kind of at one point, and I just applied to a company because I was like, let's see if I get an interview and just explore it. But like a year and a half ago, I was kind of looking at corporate flight attendant, which is for private jets. So you do kind of, you're only flying with VIP, and you basically are the only person running the cabin. But it's a stressful job. Like everything is on you. It's almost like a personal assistant, like catering down to the decor, down to cleaning the jet. Like you do food preparation and presentation. Everything is down to you. And I like stress, but there's pros and cons to that. But I was thinking about doing that about a year and a half ago. Then I figured a reason. Sometimes I talk myself out of things. And so I saw a job application open, and I said, you know what? I could at least, if they like me, let's see what it's about. And
yes.
So I thought about that. Yeah, but it's, part of me would love to go remote, but it's, there's nothing, it's hard because, we've been lucky enough, and this is something I've had to kind of deal with as well, is that we got to have a career that was our passion. It was, a lot of our life, we paid to do it, not get paid to do it. And so trying to then go, well, I have to find something that I absolutely love, and it's my passion, and it's my life, and it's like, nothing is going to be that. And that's the reality, and that's kind of what I'm coming to terms with is, nothing is going to be putting on lipstick and either 3-inch heels and fishnets, or chalking up my wrist to take a huge drastic flight in front of audience, or it's that is such a special thing, and there is kind of a mourning process, and that closing of a chapter is a loss, even if you choose to do it. And I am now choosing to move on. I didn't realize how much of a mourning process, and it's not we will never find that in something else. I think I could find elements that satisfy me, being in front of people, maybe giving, I would love to eventually be in talks and give a TED talk or be at conferences speaking, because it's performing. But I have to find ways of, I get to dress up and go, be it to a hotel and deal with VIP clients, is, I'm showing up and performing in a different way. But it will never be the stage. And there will never be the stage again. And
you know what I love about everything you just said? You are very clear in what you want, what you like, and if it's not something that you want to pursue, you say no, thank you. But I am very impressed with your ability to really think clearly of all the things that you like, your non-negotiables, the things that you want in your life, the things that you absolutely don't want. That's so incredible. And I think this is what artists, anyone that's going through a career change, creatives, artists, whoever it is, that needs to go through.
Yeah, it is. It's, I think all parts of this puzzle is something. It's kind of, like, I don't want to bring it all to grief. It's not a bad thing. I think moving on is a beautiful thing, and chapter changes are an amazing growth. I know what that life is like. Why wouldn't I want to experience something different? We only live once. But at the same time, it is almost like the steps of grieving and, the 5 phases of loss. And it's kind of, I think there does have to be a phase that you're going to have jobs. I worked at a restaurant. I worked at a pool. I hated working at the restaurant. I really don't like serving tables, but it's what I had to do to we got to make money and kind of have this time to go, okay, where, I'm loving my personal life. I'm putting that into play. Okay, so how can I find a job that there's balance? Okay, I know I want balance, and getting more clear necessarily on just the immediate answer, what you want to do and what I wanted to do, but kind of the characteristics. Like, I know I get bored. At Cirque got bored. It was about a year and a half, and that complacency, that Groundhog Day hit. And I was like, how can I be bored? I'm flying in at 60 feet every night in front of a live audience. But as a solo act, and you did the same act that I did, if you're stuck in doing that role over and over, it's the same thing over and over. And it became very monotonous, and it almost felt like a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 in our own way. We had 5 days on, 2 days off, and that's it. And the thing that was hard for me too, it's like, oh, we had 4 weeks off a year, but it wasn't like, oh, when I could take PTO. It's like, no, and these are your 4 weeks off, and they're when we say. I don't love that. And I'm realizing I know I have to probably work 5 days a week, at least in the next couple of years to build up my career. But I like variety and schedule. I like a little structure, but I'm not a super fan of it's always these 5 days and these times. I kind of like flexibility. I like variety. In the hotels, there will be weekends, there will be nights, there will be holidays, but it's not all the time. It's going to always be different, and every day is going to be a little different. I need, even serving at a restaurant it became just, hi, what would you like? Okay, I'll go get it. Okay, here it is. Like, I kind of need something that there's some change. And the positions I'm looking at in hospitality, it's, I'm looking at like guest relations, dealing with VIP clients, and every time they come in, they want something different. I make, there's at least this variety. And so, but I didn't put that together with this job. I kind of said, I know I want variety. I know I want to be able to have a personal life. I want this support. I need some kind of creativity or this, that. And then as these jobs come in, I go, okay, does this fit? No. Oh, actually, I didn't think about this job, but look, it has all these things I like. Why wouldn't I try it? And that's how kind of I'm going forward. I'm going to go forward. Hopefully I'm going to land a job soon, and I'm going to give it a year, and I'm going to tell myself to commit, because work is work. There's always days we don't want to go in. Even when I was performing, there was days I was like, I don't want to put makeup on my face. I don't want to warm up my body. I'm tired. I just want to stay in sweats. Like, even if you have your dream job, you still sometimes don't want to go to work. Yes. That's the reality. And I'm like, okay, so know that those days will come. And I want to give myself, an honest year push through, and then reevaluate. And knowing that nothing is permanent, I think gives me a little more ease. Last year I was dealing with that, where I felt like, well, I would do that, and if I go to school and get the 4-year degree, that's a lot of work into something that I don't know if I'm going to like, and that was stressing me out. And now I'm kind of trying to be more open that if I hate it, okay, I can pivot, but then that gave me some kind of experience that I can take it into the next opportunity that will give me a little leg up. And I don't think anything is for nothing. I don't think even the jobs that you go, well, that led nowhere, it always comes around. Even my summer at the pool 2 years ago, I'm now back trying to get a job at a 5-star hotel. Having that on my resume, not only hurts, but I just had an interview of one of my managers that was at that hotel now works the one I'm interviewing for. And he's like, we've worked together. And it was like a shoe in that way. So you just never know. I think everything, it's happened to me in my performance career, where these jobs that went nowhere ended up, that's how I got Love, to be honest. The artistic director, Melanie, was on maternity leave, and Sean was filling in. I worked with Sean for 5 months in Montreal the summer before, during a creation of a show that didn't happen. We had 2-year contracts, and it never left Montreal. And it was this big devastation. We lost all 2-year jobs. Fast forward that next like summer, he's at the job hiring where, hey, that's my dream job. And I was like, and he saw me in my best, my worst. He saw how I work hard, you know, and it was just like, this is crazy. And that's kind of back to trusting the universe, that sometimes things that feel like losses and failures, 5 years later, you're like I laugh sometimes. I'm like, you see, really? Like, and so even my head injury, I'm still not 100% sure that aha, oh, this is why this all happened came, but there's definitely things lining up, even down to my relationship. If, you know, I probably wouldn't be with him if I never got injured and I took that career and went to LA. We would have had such separate lives. You know, so I think everything kind of lines up the way it's supposed to.
I agree. Is there anything else you would like to share with a creative and artist performers who's ready to transition or at least thinking about it? What advice would you give them?
The first bit of advice that comes to mind is have grace with yourself. We are perfectionists. We are high achievers. We are, whatever level you are at in your performing career, most of the time we are the best at what we do in some aspect. If not in the room with all the other performers in the real world, we are extraordinary to normal people, you know? And I think we're used to being this high level, but we forget that sometimes we started when we were like 3 years old and have been working decades of training and dedication, and then we walk out and it sucks to be bad at something. It sucks to not know something. It's hard, but go forward with grace. You're not going to be great at it immediately. You're not going to be the best. You're not going to get the applause, but that's okay. That doesn't mean that you are worthless and that you don't have a strong identity. Like, you really, and that kind of brings me to my next would be work on building your identity outside of performing, whether you're a dancer, an acrobat, whatever. You know, a lot of us spend our free time in dance classes and we're in shows dancing, and our free time is dancing or other projects, and that's great. Be creative. We love it. But find hobbies, find a social life outside of performing. Don't just surround yourself with friends who perform. Find, you know, I'm so grateful for friends that I've had since I was in diapers. I have 2 girlfriends and they have nothing to do with performing. I was the crazy circus girl, but you know, my friend's a nurse, one is in hospitality, and it just gives you a different perspective. Because I found, you know, we get stuck in this performer artist bubble, and it's a beautiful place. I love it. I love us. But I think it's really important to step outside of it and build your self-worth and identity without performing and entertainment in the craft. And I don't, those are my 2. Yeah, I would say, you know, just build that as you're going, and be kind to yourself.
Gelsey, thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Your journey. I wish you all the best. We're cheering for you for this interview. You got this.
Thank you. Fingers crossed.
Thank you for listening to Recast and Rise. If today's story made a difference, share it with a fellow artist. Also, subscribe to this podcast and write a review so more people can access the tools shared on this platform. And follow me on my socials for tips and tricks to navigate your career change. Until next time, I will see you in the next episode.